Okay, let's dive into a little Go Low podcast because we have a lot going on in the golfing world. Patrick Reed, should he be on the Ryder Cup? Who would have thought I'd be saying this? But let's face it, our team's in shambles. And my man top 5'd in the Masters this year, where he always plays well, and then wins at LIV in Dallas, which was an extremely tough setup. I saw some of because all the guys like Fat Perez and Horvat and all those guys were there, and you just kind of see the difficulty of the rough. Like this was a very, very tough test. I mean, Bryson was even going in to Sunday, so it was very difficult. He beat a bunch of guys, Tyrrell Hatton, Bryson, Rahm, all these guys that are going to be in the Ryder Cup. I think it's fair to have a conversation. The Rocket Mortgage, a 20-year-old from South Africa, I can't say his name, Potgieter, who hits it a country mile, wins $1.7 million. He almost won earlier this year in Mexico and kind of blew it. And Potty Harrington, I actually watched a lot of the U.S. Senior Open. A lot of chubby guys who used to play against Tiger and Phil back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I really enjoyed it. Stuart Sink and Potty going toe-to-toe. So we will dive into some of my thoughts there. But before we do, I got to tell you about my friends, my partners in the official ticketing app of this podcast, Gametime. Any event you want to go to, you can search by arena, you can search by a team. You want to go to a baseball game, you want to go to a football game this fall. Obviously, football's not that far away. We got 10 weeks till the first NFL Sunday. You want to go to a concert season's in full swing. We got festivals, we got concerts. Go enjoy yourself. Do it on us. Save a little money. Comedy shows, you name it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code JOHN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code JOHN for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Patrick Reed, who, I would say over the course of his career has been one of the more controversial guys on the PGA Tour. And I've said this forever. One thing that happened when the LIV and the PGA Tour split happened is the PGA Tour had too many nice guys. They lost all their villains. Now, Bryson is no longer a villain. He's a big fan favorite. But you need guys like Dennis Rodman and Draymond Green in your league. You need Ndamukong Suh stomping on people's legs. That is good for business. This is entertainment. And in an individual sport, you only got so many crazy guys. John Daly carried the sport for a long period of time. And losing Patrick Reed, who, what made him so fascinating, he is a really good player. He's not just a major champ. He has one of the best short games in the history of the sport. And he wins this week at LIV, which, listen, I've been fully transparent. I don't put too much in winning and losing these tournaments. Even John Rahm said his top 10 streak forever. It's, it is what it is. He's playing against a smaller field. But this individual tournament was extremely difficult. I mean, Bryson DeChambeau was even through the first 2 weeks, and Patrick Reed had a 3-shot lead going into Sunday. He had shot 4 and 5 under. He was 9 under. He actually didn't play that well on Sunday. Like, if he played like this, we've been talking about Keegan Bradley winning. Like, Keegan Bradley's on the team. I'm sorry, look at our squad. It is not very good. Xander has not had a good year. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler is a stud. Collin Morikawa was just fucking had a bizarre year. Like, good player. He's obviously a lock. I mean, the Spieth of the world who's having a kid who's injured, like, sorry. We got talking about, like, Ben Griffins and Andrew Novaks. You're telling me that Patrick Reed can't be on the team? And the pushback would be like, John, don't you remember last time he was on the team? It was weird. I think we're over that. Because last time we played a Ryder Cup, it was all about the vibes. It was like making sure everyone's friend was on the team. How did that work out for us? Not great. And in this individual tournament, he's literally beating guys who are going to be on the Ryder Cup. Bryson is, you could argue behind Scotty, the second best player on our team. I think I would argue that. I would feel more comfortable taking Bryson in that moment than Collin Morikawa. And Collin Morikawa has been good in the Ryder Cup, but he played for a long time with DJ, and obviously DJ's not going to be on the team. But, like, I would have no problem at least putting him in the discussion. And to me, if he plays well at the Open, and if he continues to play well these last couple events at LIV, I think it's more than a discussion. Here's the other thing. Like, this is a home event in New York. It is going to be a bunch of young dudes, a bunch of people boozing. It's going to be bananas. The crowd is going to be behind Patrick Reed. Obviously, Bryson changed the narrative a couple years ago. If we were going overseas, I would say it could get a little weird. Hell, Patrick Reed and one of his playing partners just got into it with a fan on Sunday. But I kind of think this team needs a little juice. We just talked about it with the Tomlin Pittsburgh Steelers trade. Sometimes you need to mix shit up. And I'm sorry, I think we need to mix it up a little bit. Keegan on the team. Patrick Reed plays well the last couple months. I have no problem bringing him on the team. He just won a tournament because you're like, well, it's going to be a bunch of long rough. It's a long course at the Ryder Cup. Well, what did he just play? A course with extremely long rough. Where does that benefit him? He's got a great short game. So especially around the green, he can get up and down. I have no problem entertaining that. And like, especially based on who else is going to be in the mix. Like, what are we talking about? It is not like we have some a couple years ago, it was like, we go like 20 deep as the Americans. Now it's flipped. It feels like their team goes 20 deep. Like, two of the best players on the International Ryder Cup team are literally Jon Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton. And obviously Tyrrell Hatton was one shot off at LIV, missing the playoff where Patrick Reed ended up winning. But like, he is going to be a guy that's going to be on that team for a decade plus. Jon Rahm, when it's all said and done, will go down as probably one of the great European players, not named Seve Ballesteros or Sergio Garcia. Like, he's going to be one of their better players right there with Rory in the history of the event. So, listen, Bryson's on the team. Now, Bryson's a better player than Patrick Reed, but like, to me, Patrick Reed winning in Dallas, I think he has thrown his hat in the discussion. And here's the other thing. This is an entertainment product. This is an exhibition, right? During football season. So, like, back in the day, and I love golf. I mean, I love it. I definitely listen to more golf podcasts and golf content than I do football content. I do think back in the heyday of the Ryder Cup, like before the internet, going up against other sports was a little different. And obviously the TV element, there is no disputing that, like, when I have it on my TV in a room with like 3 TVs, either on Saturday or Sunday of the fall, it's like, it's hard for me to give it all my attention when you got fucking the Chiefs playing the Bills or you got Texas playing Georgia. It gets lost in the shuffle. And I do think adding Bryson, adding Patrick Reed, there has to be some sort of element. And I understand Keegan is not factoring in television ratings, but like, from a standpoint of like, this guy's really good and he's playing really well. He's also played really well over the course of his career in some big moments. And you can say, John, what about the Ryder Cup? Yeah, it's like, I've seen Jordan Spieth have rough moments at the Ryder Cup. I've seen Rory McIlroy cry at the Ryder Cup from playing like crap. Ryder Cup's hard. Tiger and Phil notoriously aren't like great Ryder Cup players. It's difficult. So listen, if guys on that team are cool and will vouch for them, and who knows, I have no problem putting Patrick Reed on that team. Pro golfers drive for show, but they putt for dough. The easiest shot for you to make some dough, betting on this week's tournament at DraftKings Sportsbook. From the opening round through Sunday, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with live betting, player props, and so much more. I bet on golf every single week. Couple guys I like this week at the John Deere. Michael Kim. You can get plus 360 to top 10, obviously line subject to change, as well as Mark Hubbard, who has been playing well. You can get him at plus 400. So that means you bet $100, you win 360. You bet $100, you win 400. I like both those guys to be in the mix to top 10. If you want to sprinkle on them to win, would not blame you. Like Michael Kim and Mark Hubbard this week at the John Deere. Here's something special for first-timers. DraftKings customers bet $5 to win $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code JOHN. That's code JOHN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Listen, I think Patrick Reed being, and I'm not just saying that because they bought ad space, I think Patrick Reed was more interesting than anything that happened at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Now, in fairness, the Rocket Mortgage Classic is probably one of the worst events on the calendar. When you factor in the field, when you factor in its time of year, you could argue this week John Deere, but at least John Deere like knows its place. Like, no one expects, like Morikawa, there's some big names in the Rocket Mortgage. There aren't many big names playing this week. Most people take the week off, go enjoy their families. That was a pretty boring tournament. Now, I give Potgieter props for winning it. He was close to winning in Mexico earlier this year. His ball speed was ranging between like 192 and 196 For those of you, they use this term a lot. I think the average golfer is not on the TrackMan. The first time I've ever been truly on the TrackMan was earlier this year when I bought like a little Bushnell contraption. I swing pretty hard, for an amateur golfer. And I, got to swing really, really hard to hit 170. And listening to people talk about it, like once you get to a certain number, usually like 165, 170, gaining a couple miles an hour of ball speed from then on out is really, really difficult to gain. Cruising in the 190s is insane. I mean, this guy blasts the ball. He's hitting driver iron like 310. His driver goes like 350. I think there's a lot of question marks with the short game, but when you hit it that far, I had a wise man tell me years ago, the most overrated thing in golf is putting. Like most people are average to below average putters. And we always say like, driving the ball doesn't matter. No, hitting fairways. If I take a 7 handicap, or I take a scratch handicap, or I take a 15 handicap, and for 90% of the par 4s and par 5s, I put them in the middle of the fairway relative to how far you hit it, 250 to 280 to 300, you are going to play dramatically better than if I say, hey, you're going to make some putts, but every single hole I'm going to put you in the trees or where I live in the cactus. It's really difficult to play. So when you hit it far and you hit it straight, the game gets relatively easier. So props to that kid. He won $1.7 million. It is really, really lucrative to win these golf tournaments now. I saw the list of all the, Scottie Scheffler currently has made the most money this year, but like every guy in the top 10 just on the course has made like 7 million plus. I mean, it is crazy the amount of money that at the end of the year, all these guys, like every guy in the top 10 will be probably 12 million minimum. And obviously some of these guys are going to be 20 plus, and then whoever wins the FedEx, especially if it's Scotty or Rory, will probably be close to like 40 or 50 million dollars. So the amount of money, Patrick Reed just won $4 million. I've said it forever. It's like, it was funny about Florio doesn't understand why no one cares about the NFL collusion case. It's because Florio, everyone's getting filthy rich. It's like Kyler Murray got screwed, did he? He's made every penny of his contract. He's banked $150 million. So, like, did he get screwed? Like, I don't see him out on the street. I see that guy printing money. Same thing with golf. Everyone involved in pro golf, people always said it was the best time to ever play was when Tiger was in his prime. And relatively speaking, if you were a guy out on the PGA Tour before Tiger got there, the money ballooned. So you went from winning $500,000 in a golf tournament to winning $1 million. It's a huge difference, especially in 2002 or 2005. But when you're talking about guys that are going to make like solid years, might not win a tournament and make $15 million just on the course. I told Collin this the other day, like Maria's in this world now. She works for this luxury real estate company that is pretty ingrained with a lot of golfers because one of the main guys that works there, former big-time golfer, multiple guys that are ingrained in the PGA Tour scene. They're caddies. They're caddies. And these aren't, Scottie Scheffler's caddies or, these are, I'm not going to put any guy on blast. I'm not allowed to, but it's guys that are way down the money list looking at homes $2, $3, $4 million. So there's never been a time to be associated with this sport. The money is flowing. And it's why it's become so competitive, and it'll be fascinating to watch how this plays out over the next couple of years. Is this sustainable? Because, like, should the Rocket Mortgage be paying 1.7 to the winner? I'll be fascinated to see the television ratings on that one. I know the PGA Tour is rated really well this season, and I get it, like the Travelers or the Players or some of these tournaments. But that was the first time I was like, yeah, it's kind of boring. Like, Maria, you want to go for a walk? She's like, no, it's 110 degrees. I'm like, yeah, good point. So I'll watch golf, and I watched both the golf tournaments, and I do think the LIV for the first time, and I'm not saying this because they are paying. I promise you this. I had them both on. I just thought it was more interesting watching Bryson and Patrick Reed play golf than Chris Kirk in Potteater. Now, again, part of that, if you tell me it was Scotty and Collin Morikawa, I changed my tune. But just for the first time going up against that event, and it's where LIV can like at least enter the conversation where they get a big name guy going up against a shitty event, and the Rocket Mortgage is now I would say a pretty low level event. Can I tell you about my friends at Ridge Wallet? You see this sleek black carbon fiber design? Looks fantastic. Um, Highly recommend because I don't know about you, but also have a Ridge keychain here. Fantastic. I lose my wallet and my keys all the time, but Ridge has the technology, a little air tag, can't lose it. My car keys, the Ridge one, I can clip it onto my pants when I need to, and it's so much bulkier around the house. I just don't misplace it. So, cannot recommend them enough. They have over 50 different colors. Losing your wallet's the worst. You never want to. Like I said, the technology to find it, no matter what you pick, Ridge has free shipping, lifetime warranty, and a 99-day free risk trial. So, can't recommend these guys enough. So, for a limited time, our listeners get 10% off at Ridge by using the code GOLOW, GOLW at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use GOLOW. After your purchase, they'll ask, where'd you hear about them? Tell them we sent you. One event that was pretty impressive was I watched the last 5 holes of Padraig Harrington and Stuart Sink. Stuart Sink probably could have won this tournament. He missed 2 birdies on 16 and 17 from within, I don't know, 7, 8 feet. I mean, he stuck it close on 17, and he just pushed it right. And even Patty Harrington admitted, like I feel pretty fortunate. Sink could have buried one of those birdies. But I noticed like the Senior Open, I found more interesting than the Rocket Mortgage because like I've watched Stuart Sink and Patty Harrington play Tiger and Phil when I was young. It was actually really good. Sometimes and again, I'm a golf sicko. Like I understand. Like I'm not expecting this to be for the masses. It's like recruiting guy. Like I love football. I don't get into recruiting. I totally get if you don't like golf. I say it all the time. Like listen, I respect UFC. I don't watch it, but that was a fantastic 3 or 4 hole stretch with those two guys. These are two major champions. Stuart Sink a couple years ago won on the PGA Tour, I think twice. I love the body types on the Senior Tour. They're all just fucking big. Even guys that Patty Harrington talks about, like he lifts weights. If you ever want to go to a good YouTube channel for just a golf sicko or Instagram, I think Patty Harrington and Rocco, these guys are golf sickos, like Peyton Manning with football. They eat, breathe, and sleep it. They love talking about it. They love giving tips. I think Rocco and Patty Harrington are just two guys. I say this all the time about like the Andy Reid and Belichick generation. I put when I worked for Pat Hill and the same thing. These guys got involved in football back in the 60s or the 70s. There was no money involved, or the 80s. You weren't getting involved to coaching to get rich. Like Rocco and Patty Harrington and Stuart Sink, when they first got into golf, you weren't going to be flying private jets everywhere unless your name was Arnold Palmer or Jack Nicklaus. And now everyone's filthy rich, So it was very, very enjoyable. I do think with the 4th of July, I'm going to Tahoe in Nevada for 10 days. Got someone, I got to clear out the house. We got someone coming over here to watch the dog and take care of this. It's a big, I say I have a lot of respect. Respect's the wrong word. Jealousy. Uh, I'm legitimately jealous of the people that have like their parents live down the street from them where they can just it, it's it is more difficult to find somewhere where you're comfortable dropping your dog off or having someone come watch your dog. It's actually a more difficult task than you would think. But when you live in, I don't want to say a foreign land, but an area where you just, I've only been for a couple years. I don't have, and a lot of people leave anyway in the summer because it's 150 degrees. But we'll see. We got a new person taking care of her, so we'll see how that goes. But I was thinking about this because this is a great drinking week. 4th of July, as I've gotten older, is easily my favorite holiday. I mean, I don't even think, honestly, there's not a close second. The only close second would be, and maybe this changes, for those of you parents, when you have kids, Christmas is really cool, giving presents to someone else. But like in my state right now, Christmas is down on the list. Thanksgiving would be up there, but I always regret how much I eat. At 4th of July, I just never have a bad time, even if I'm not doing that much, because it always involves the sun. It always involves some water, sometimes some golf. And I think I was thinking about this. Where does the golf beer or the golf cocktail rank going into this week? Because listen, there's nothing like the summer, playing golf with some friends, having a cocktail in the cart, maybe 2, maybe 5, and then obviously the beer or cocktail after the round, I think is the best. I do think if you had to go number one overall the ranking, there's nothing like the 4th of July cocktail beer on the lake, at the pool, by the body of water. That is easily the best. I think that is the best drink of the year. The 4th of July drink by the pool or by the lake. And I'll be by the lake this week. I can't wait. I would probably put ahead of the golf beer would be the vacation. So if any of you guys that are on vacation this week or going on vacation, and vacation could just be like not having to work screwing around, you can just have a drink whenever you want. I saw this on Instagram. It's like 10 a.m. Shit, beer me. That's a special feeling. I also think golf, you can incorporate that mindset. So you could argue those two are tied. I'd put the vacation beer above the golf beer, though they would basically be the same thing because I think you can approach it, especially during the summer. Like if you're teeing off at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Friday, on a Saturday, you can get drinks before you tee off and don't feel any, and I mean any hesitation doing it, right? You don't, sometimes if you're playing, even if it's not this week, but during the week, and you're like, I'm going to play in the morning, but I still got work to do in the afternoon. Someone's like, hey, should we get some transfusions on hole 3? And you look, it's like 8:45 in the morning. You're like, should I? You kind of have hesitation. You have no hesitation this week. This is just an incredible week to drink. I mean, it really is. Before we get out of here, I did want to bang out a couple of your questions from the golf mailbag. So we will start with this. We'll start with Bryce. This is at GoLowPod. At GoLowPod is the Instagram. Fire in those DMs. Get your questions answered here on the show. Hey, John. The last 5 years, I've used my grandfather's clubs because he's physically unable to play anymore. Feel for your grandpa. They are a good, reliable set, and they're around 20 years old, and I'm saving up for my own set. I currently have one hybrid in my bag, and it's one of my favorite clubs. Don't have any woods. What is the difference between a hybrid and a wood? What should I get for my new set? One hybrid, one wood, two hybrids, since I like them so much. I wouldn't consider a hybrid a wood. To me, a hybrid, back when I started playing golf in like the 90s, hybrids did not exist. So you would get to like a 4, 3, 2 iron. Those clubs are very difficult to hit. Honestly, once you get to like a 6, 5 iron, these are tough clubs to hit, right? So a hybrid is technically, depending on the loft, it can be a 4 iron, it can be a 3 iron, it can be a 2 iron, it can operate closer to a 5 wood. It's just a very, very, I would say, player-friendly club. Because a 3 wood can be a difficult club to hit. Obviously, the driver, depending on who you are, is not easy to hit, even with the technology. I would say there is not an easier club to hit than the hybrid, just in terms of a club that you could hit far and flush and somewhat control. I would say if you like the hybrid, I think Freddie Couples is a guy with a ton of hybrids. You could hybrid up. I mean, you're relatively new to golf. You could do a hybrid version of like a 3 iron, a hybrid version of a 4 iron, a hybrid version of a 5 iron. You can be shameless. Who cares? Hot take. Keegan is fine as a playing captain. The importance of the captain, the Ryder Cup, is overblown. In the end, it comes down to pairing guys together who get along and whose ball matches. All the planning in the world won't mean shit if the players suck like Scheffler did at the Ryder Cup or the other team shoots low 60s. Ryder Cup is not the Super Bowl. Let's talk golf myths. Putt for dough, drive for show is wrong. It's the opposite. I totally agree. I mean, Brooks Koepka and Scotty Scheffler. And obviously, Brooks isn't playing well now, but a couple years ago when he played with Scotty, they got beat in like 10 holes. I forget, were they playing, was it Viktor Hovland and Ludwig or Viktor Hovland and Rahm? I forget the exact, it was Hovland and somebody. They beat the living shit out of those two. Those two have a combined what? Scotty has 3 majors, Koepka has 5. They have 8 majors, and they lost like 10 and 8 or something. I mean, it has to be one of the worst losses in the history of the Ryder Cup. So I'm completely with you. If your top guys, like, if you bring Ben Griffin and he plays bad, you're going to get smoked. That's why I would entertain bringing Patrick Reed over Ben Griffin, right? I would entertain like you said, the pairings are very important, and who's playing well is really, really important. I totally agree from you. Hitting the fairway, unless you are playing like some of these PGA Tour events, I will take my chances hitting the fairway than because how good are you ever going to putt? Like, are most people going to bang out a bunch of 12 footers? No. You, even if you're like I'm a three handicap. Actually played my best round of the year. Shot 77 at TPC on Saturday. Three birdies, no big deal. Uh, I actually didn't hit the driver that well, but I actually made putts. And I think sometimes, listen, ideally you want to do both. You want to hit fairways. Now the thing at TPC you can spray it a little bit and it's fine. But if I would have played at a tighter course, I would have been in some trouble. But when I hit fairways, even when I'm putting like shit, I shoot anywhere between 78 and 82. I mean, if I miss every fairway, I'm probably going to shoot 88. Totally agree with you. I had someone tell me this years ago. Unless you're playing the Masters, driving the ball straight and hitting fairways is much more important than you're not going to be Brad Faxon with a putter in your hand. Are Collin and Rory competing this year to be the softest golfer of the year? Both have been handling the media terribly. It kind of feels like they're both trying to be tough guys and treat the media like shit, but don't realize how they come off. I'm going to give Rory a little grace in the sense that who knows, maybe he's got the divorce is back on. Who knows what's going on? I don't even want to speculate. But I thought Brandel had a good point. He's like, listen, if you have a good friend in life that has done everything right, treated you well, and then starts acting weird for a month, you don't just kick him to the curb. Like Rory for like 3 years has been pretty important to the media and golf and handled himself pretty well. Got a little weird after the Masters. I'm giving him a little. Colin's acted weird for a while now. This notion that like Collin, I don't owe you any. Collin, you're not fucking Joe Montana here, buddy. If you disappeared tomorrow, honestly, if Collin Morikawa, if Rory disappeared tomorrow, we'd have problems. If Collin Morikawa disappeared tomorrow, and I like the guy as a player, no one would care. His importance to the business of golf relative to how much he makes. Like if Josh Allen disappeared from the NFL, it would be a problem. If Lamar Jackson disappeared, it would be a problem. Collin Morikawa on like the rankings and where he stands from like a status standpoint is like that. Yet his importance to the business model of the cash that everyone's making, including himself, who's filthy rich, he's kind of irrelevant. He's an irrelevant great player. He's much closer to like Patrick Cantlay than he is Rory, Bryson, or Scotty in terms of importance to the business model of the sport. And then when he starts acting like he's running through caddies, like you would bottled waters at a party. It's crazy how often he's going through guys. Someone told me last week that they had heard that there was like an incident, maybe like the second time, because Max Homa's caddy jumped to Collin, whatever, a couple months ago. And I don't know if it was either their second or third tournament. There was like, they butted heads. And it clearly fractured since, and now they broke up. Firing, broke up, quit, who knows the exact term. But like the Homa Griner thing was clear. Like it was just time for a split. They were good friends. The Collin like Collin, can you work with anybody? Like, can you work with anybody? What's your deal, bro? Like seriously, what's you're not like a big enough like a-hole to be a villain. You're just kind of in no man's land where people just don't like you. You just kind of turn people off. So I think Morikawa, the situation he just had with Alan Shipnuck, who I talk some shit about Big J's, but I also appreciate a good Big J moment. And him and Shipnuck getting into it. I just think that Morikawa feels pretty exhausting right now. So I would say he's in a different. Rory, at the end of the day, Rory's extremely important to the business of golf. Golf needs him more than he needs them at this point. Morikawa needs golf way more than golf needs him. Promise you that. Big fan of both your pods. I know you're big on the top dogs in majors, but wanted to see your opinion change post JJ Spawn winning the US Open. Was Oakmont just an outlier? I know for the most part he's been a mess post Masters, but I think Rory has a big chance at the Open, especially since it's his home area. I also would love to see Scotty win because he's such a great player. I want him to win a lot of majors and solidify his greatness. I do think there's going to be a couple majors over the course of 5, 6 years, depending on the courses that bring other people in play. Oakmont, they all said toughest course we've ever played. They called it the toughest and most difficult course in the entire world. So anytime you put people on that scenario, there probably is going to be more variables, right? Bryson missed the cut. All these guys got ejected. So I thought Bryson was one of the favorites. I bet like $500 on him to top 5 to top 10 to win, and he didn't even get close to making the cut. So I think anytime you go to a difficult course, which doesn't happen that we don't see these guys get tested that often, so you kind of forget. And I think Oakmont, Shinnecock next year, I think falls under that category. Even you could say Pinehurst is difficult, but look who dominated at Pinehurst, all the best players. So I think anytime they go to Oakmont, I think Shinnecock is going to fall into that next year. It might just be like, I don't know, you could take some flyers. I think the Masters, the top dogs are going to dominate. I think at the Open is a good example because weather comes into play. You get a lot of variety. Like last year, it was Justin Rose, Billy Horschel, and Xander, right? I think at the Masters moving forward, it's going to be 5, 6 of the group of 10, right? Scotty, Morikawa, Rory, Ludwig, Rahm. It's a Xander if he's healthy. It's a top guy. Hatton now is an elite player. I watched the LIV Dallas Day 3. What an ending. Question: is there anything that the new commissioner with the PGA can model from LIV to enhance the viewer experience? The PGA TV experience has become painful. Too many commercials and too many spotlights of sponsors in the booth. Meanwhile, LIV showed the best players and the favorites over and over. Well, the business model is a little different, right? I mean, the contract with Fox for LIV, there aren't many requirements. It's not like a huge lucrative business proposition. The PGA Tour took a ton of money from CBS and NBC. So for them to make their money back, given that one thing unique about the PGA Tour consumer, and the same consumer would watch LIV too, the golf consumer, same thing, senior US Open, the audience is much smaller than all these other major sports, right? It's a big deal for a PGA tournament to get, what, 5 million people is a massive day for a non-major. 3.5, 4 million people is a big deal. But that percentage of a consumer, like the NBA final consumer, let's say beside Game 7, they were getting like 8 million people watching. So double a PGA Tour event. The PGA Tour consumer, their demo is like 50% they have more money than the NBA or NFL consumer. So while the audience is smaller from an advertiser perspective, you are getting the richest sports consumer. It's a huge advantage for golf. So they have to find a way to, your consumer's unique, but you just, hit them over the head with these ads. It is pretty boring to watch. It's easier for Fox to do the LIV because the financial situation is different. I also think if you get a huge sponsor, Rocket Mortgage, Wells Fargo, Chevy, whatever the Coca-Cola, part of the package to get that guy to give you $50 million for the year to be the official bank and then to host a tournament is you got to throw him some bones. And I think they are big, clearly, on getting that sit down with Nance during the tournament. It's one thing if it's Tiger and Jack's tournament and those guys are in the booth, no one cares. But when it's like, let's go to the CEO of Barclays, it's like, can I just watch Scotty Scheffler and Rahm hit these shots? But I don't think that's going away. So I don't know what he does because the television contract was signed before he got there. Now, his job at the NFL was to deal with these contracts. So maybe he could, I don't know. I don't expect anything to change. In the past 3 years, I've become a big golf fan, not only playing but watching it. I heard you and Collin talking the other day about Rory and Koepka and how they have lost motivation. I'm a huge Hovland fan. He's my favorite golfer since I started watching the sport. He had this to say during the US Open. We'd all like to win. There is also a deep passion in me that I want to hit the shots. I want to stand on the tee and hit the shots that I'm envisioning. Do you think his first major win is in the horizon? And with this mentality of quote unquote hitting the shots, what it can open the floodgates to multiple major wins. I do think it's a little unfair to, I would say, compare like Rory's situation to Hovland in the sense of like he's one of the best quotes in the sport, but he's obviously chasing, he hasn't won a major. And I think why people root for him is how open he is. That's stuff like Tiger and Phil would say. They're like, I want to be the best. I know when I'm hitting the shots, I'm going to win. When Hovland's playing his best, he can beat anybody in the world. I mean, 2 years ago, he was the best player in the world, essentially, at the end of the year when he won the FedEx Cup. I mean, he's fucking dominating. So I would say he's a lock. Do you know where I see Viktor Hovland, his career ending? I don't know how many majors. Like, you could convince me he only wins one. You could convince me he wins four. I think he's going to win a U.S. Open and maybe multiple U.S. Open. I think he's tailor made for the U.S. Open. I think that's his tournament. He obviously can compete if he's playing well at the Masters and the PGA, but like I envision that guy winning a U.S. Open at a really, really tough track. And I think, listen, it was like a draft class. It was three guys came out of his class that were like can't miss prospects. It'd be like Cooper Flagg, Trevor Lawrence, and and Zion Williamson. It was Viktor Hovland, Collin Morikawa, and Matt Wolff. And Matt Wolff looked like the best version right off the bat, and then clearly fell off a cliff. And Morikawa and Hovland are high level players. And I think Hovland, the difference of Hovland and Morikawa is like Hovland's just likable. It's just easy to watch Viktor Hovland and go, I'm rooting for this guy, and that's what Morikawa lacks. So I'm with you. I think Hovland. Uh, I think he's destined to win a major for sure.